All right, we're about to pull back the curtain on a legal fight that tells you pretty much everything you need to know about the music industry. This is a wild story about a classic hip-hop track, a billion-stream hit, and a partnership that just completely imploded. And it all boils down to this one question that, on the surface, makes absolutely no sense. Why would an artist try to sabotage a lawsuit that's meant to protect his own song, his own legacy, and his own money? It's a real head-scratcher. To figure it out, we need to meet the people at the center of this storm.
Okay, so on one side we have Nicole Key. She's the plaintiff, the one who filed the lawsuit to protect the song. On the other side is Rodney Oliver, the hip-hop legend known as Rodney O. But here's where it gets weird. He's not trying to join her team. He's trying to join the other side, to fight against the very person who is fighting for him.
To solve this mystery, we really have to rewind the clock. We need to go back to a time before all the lawyers and lawsuits, back when Key and Rodney O were a team. Now, according to the court filings, Nicole Key wasn't just some business partner. She was literally the engine behind the revival of Rodney O's career. For more than 5 years, she was his rights manager. That means she was the one digging through old contracts, finding new money, and bringing his classic catalog back to life. By all accounts, they were a powerhouse team.
And you don't have to take my word for it. These are actual text messages submitted as evidence, and you can see them working together, totally in sync. On the left, Rodney O is talking strategy, saying we can have Sony pay or offer small percent for someone. And on the right, he's giving the green light on a draft. It's good to go. It should hit the mark. This was a partnership.
And hey, if the text weren't enough, here it is, straight from the source. In his own written statement, Rodney O says Key handled his business for years and always kept him in the loop. You have to remember this solid foundation, because what happens next just shatters the whole thing.
So what on earth could destroy a partnership that was working so well for so long? Well, it all started when Rodney O's biggest song got sampled on one of the biggest hits of the year.
You know the song Like That by Future, Metro Boomin, and Kendrick Lamar. It was a monster hit, an absolute chart topper, and it sampled Everlasting Bass. But you know what happens when a song gets that big? The claims start rolling in. And sure enough, the Barry White Family Trust came forward, saying they owned a piece of that original track and they wanted a piece of the new one.
And this was their opening shot. A settlement demand letter from the trust's lawyers. And the terms they laid out, well, let's just say, aggressive is putting it mildly.
Okay, let's break this down because it's pretty shocking. They offered him just $50,000. In exchange, Rodney O would have to hand over massive chunks of the copyright and income from Like That. But the last point? Man, that's the real gut punch. He would have to give up all future control over licensing his own song. They basically wanted to take over his most valuable asset for pennies on the dollar. So, faced with this, hostile takeover attempt, Key and Rodney O didn't just say no thanks. They got smart. They made a big, strategic move to protect the song for the fight that was clearly coming.
And this document right here is the heart of the entire story. It's a co-ownership agreement. Rodney O signed on the dotted line, officially giving Nicole Key a 50% stake in the master recording of Everlasting Bass. This wasn't just a casual agreement. This was a formal, legal transfer of rights. So why is this such a big deal? Well, under copyright law, being a co-owner gives you what's known as standing. In plain English, that means you have the power to go to court and sue to protect the work, all by yourself. You don't need anyone else's permission. This agreement gave Key the legal firepower to fight for the song no matter what happened.
And they were playing chess here, not checkers. They even built in a fail-safe clause. They knew how the industry works, how big companies can put the squeeze on artists to get them to back down. This clause was designed to make sure the fight could go on no matter who came knocking.
So the battle lines are drawn. Their defenses are up. They're ready to go. And then the story takes a turn that nobody could have seen coming. The biggest threat, it turned out, wasn't coming from the outside anymore.
So Key files the lawsuit to protect Everlasting Bass, just like they planned. And then, completely out of the blue, Rodney O hires a brand new legal team. And the very first thing they do is file something called a motion to intervene. It's a request to join the lawsuit. But, and you're not going to believe this, he wasn't asking to join Key's side. He was asking to join the defendants, the very people they were supposed to be fighting against.
And his reason was spelled out crystal clear. The court filing says his one and only purpose was to ask the judge to throw out the entire lawsuit. Let that sink in for a second. The man at the center of the whole thing, whose legacy was on the line, was now actively trying to kill the fight. Which, of course, brings us right back to that original question. Why?
When a story stops making sense like this,
There's a very simple rule that usually gets you to the truth. You have to follow the money. I mean, just think about it logically. Why would any artist hire super expensive lawyers just to argue against their own payday? It's completely nonsensical, unless, of course, they're not the one footing the bill.
And this right here, this is where the entire mystery unravels. As part of her filing, Key's team submitted this document as evidence. It's a legal invoice from Rodney O's new law firm, and it shows tens of thousands of dollars in legal work, all of it aimed at one thing: getting Key's lawsuit dismissed.
But the total amount isn't even the smoking gun here. The really important detail is in this little section way down at the bottom. See that part that says trust statement? That's the section that shows who's been paying the bills.
And there it is, one single line, received from Sony Music Pub Co. That's right, this invoice shows that Sony's own publishing company paid over $55,000 for Rodney O's legal fees. A corporate music giant was secretly funding the legal effort to kill a lawsuit meant to protect an independent artist.
And that just leaves us with one final and frankly pretty chilling question. This case stops being about one song and starts being about something much bigger, right? It's about power and influence in the music industry. When a major corporation is secretly paying an artist's legal bills, who are the lawyers really working for? Who is actually calling the shots?